guys, it's Cece, and today I'm here to do an off-topic video. Really, I think the content of this video is going to boil down to everyone watching this TARDIS slowly reappear on my cup. So I have got my tea, and today we are going to be talking about the movies that I watched for the first quarter of 2018. It's been an intense movie year, and I can already tell that with April beginning, I'm still on it. I'm still watching all the movies. Like, as soon as I'm done filming this, I'm gonna go and do another double feature with my aunt because we get together every weekend and watch 2 movies. So, I have my full huge list of movies that I've watched so far this year. I'm not gonna talk about every single one of them because there are literally too many to do that, but we're gonna talk about some of the highlights and some of the lowlights. Let's get into it. So I'm thinking we're gonna start with a kind of quick series of reviews for all of the movies that I've rewatched this year. I've been rewatching hella movies, and I don't really feel the need to go into them. If I'm rewatching them, clearly I like these, so let's just go through them real fast. I rewatched Hoodwinked, which is a super underrated animated movie that for a time in my life I had memorized. I love this movie. It's like, It should have reached some of the acclaim of Shrek. Like, it's doing the same thing, kind of messing with fairy tales, and it's also a musical, but because the animation style is so cheap, a lot of people kind of skipped over it. It's unfair. Anne Hathaway's in it, Patrick Warburton is in it, isn't Glenn Close Granny? I don't know. It's got amazing people in it. It's hilarious. It's got a great soundtrack. It is a delight, and I will watch it again and again for the rest of my life. I also rewatched Charade, which is one of my favorite older movies. I was raised on a lot of Cary Grant movies because my mom is in love with Cary Grant, but Charade is, I would say it's my favorite of all of the Cary Grant movies and Audrey Hepburn movies that I watched growing up, and it's just great pure happenstance that they are in the same movie. Actually, no, my favorite Cary Grant movie is Arsenic and Olace, but Charade is a close second because it's also really exciting. I hadn't watched this in years. It was so much fun to rewatch it again. Rewatched High School Musical 2! I always love a good High School Musical rewatch. We watched that one in particular, my sister and I, because I was having a day where I was really, really down, and I got to rant my favorite rant about Ryan and Chad being gay and about how Disney is made up of a bunch of cowards, and that always puts me in a better mood. Someday I'm going to give a TED Talk about Ryan and Chad being coded as gay, but especially Ryan, and I Don't Dance just gets me real riled up. Every single time I watch it, I go through my High School Musical tag on my Tumblr, I go through saved tweets, and I'm like, ugh, they were gay! I can't go through all of these. What else did I rewatch that was fun? Rewatched Thor Ragnarok. One of the best Marvel movies out there. I love it so very much. I rewatched John Wick, which is one of my favorite action movies. Like, give me more soft action dudes who kill for reasons that I can empathize with and are legitimately soft and, like, good people, despite the fact that they kill people. Give me an excuse to be that line from Mulan where Mushu's like, look at my little baby going off to destroy people. That is what I want in my heart, and that is what John Wick gives me. Rewatched both of the Guardians movies. I'm gonna be rewatching a lot more Marvel movies because I'm trying to prep my aunt for Infinity War, and she's real behind. She'd really only seen the first phase of Marvel movies, so we're desperately trying to catch up. But rewatching Guardians is always fun. I also, in the same night that we rewatched Guardians 2, I showed her Rock of Ages for the first time, which is one of my favorite musicals. That movie is the most absurd movie in existence, and I love it with my whole goddamn heart. I love musicals so much. It takes so little to impress me if you include even a musical number in your movie, but if you have a whole musical, it's almost impossible to disappoint me. So, plus Rock of Ages has gays, and they're great gays. That's probably where I should wrap up. I rewatched a whole bunch more, but I'm not gonna talk about them all because that's too many. I watched some movies for the first time that are kind of older. I'm not gonna talk about all of these because it's a weird collection. This is a movie collection. Let me give you like 3 examples of movies I'm not gonna talk about but that I watched. These movies include such titles as Pop Star, Never Stop Never Stopping, Encino Man, and The King's Speech. That really gives you like a full look at how I feel about the movies that I watch, like my taste in movies, that eclectic. And, in case you're wondering, I liked all 3 of them. So, I'm not going to review them any farther than that. They were good. They were good movies. Finally watched Hidden Figures for the first time. I can't believe I hadn't watched it before. It's honestly a crime on my part. Brilliant movie that absolutely lived up to the hype. I love Janelle Monáe. I love Janelle Monáe. But in general, all 3 women from this movie were fantastic. It was an educational movie. It was really incredibly well done. and I am really glad that I watched it. Will definitely be rewatching it. Another movie that I watched that was like a big Oscars movie was Spotlight, which won... Did that win last? No, 2 years ago. That won 2 years ago for Best Picture. Last year was Moonlight. The year before that was Spotlight. Spotlight, another movie which is a like based on a true story movie, which I've been very, very into lately, that I didn't know a whole ton about, but had just a rock star cast and was incredibly well done. I think that it handled the nitty-gritty of journalism in a very fantastic way that it took so long to get all of the facts together to prove what they were saying was true. I would argue that's one of my favorite movies that I've watched in the past few months. It's definitely up there, probably on like a top 10 list of the best movies that I've watched and discovered in the past few months. Just, I was so blown away by the craft of it, by the acting, and by the story itself, which is hard to get through, but is so, so incredibly good. Another movie that I don't know fully why I'm comparing it to Spotlight, but like as I was talking about it, I was like, oh, you know what I should talk about next? Zodiac. Is it Mark Ruffalo? Maybe that's why I'm connecting them in my head. Mark Ruffalo's in both movies. And they're both about journalism. I think that's valid. So Zodiac is made by one of my absolute favorite people in show business, David Fincher, who makes movies that I love. I love the way David Fincher makes movies. He made, like, Gone Girl and The Social Network, which are both brilliant movies as well. But I had really been interested in Zodiac because it's based on a true story. But it's about a serial killer, and it's about a serial killer I don't know a whole ton about. The Zodiac Killer, in case you didn't put that together. I thought it was going to be a normal length movie. Here's your warning. Zodiac is not a normal length movie. It's almost 3 hours long, so you think that you're nearing the end, and you aren't. That doesn't mean that I didn't like the movie. I definitely liked the movie. I was just surprised by its length, but I liked it. I also have decided that if Jake Gyllenhaal were younger and less famous, he would be in more Ryan Murphy productions because he is exactly Ryan Murphy's type of dude. You know that dude that Ryan Murphy keeps hiring and you assume they're all the same dude and they're not? Jake Gyllenhaal fits into that collection of white dudes really, really well. I watched Carol. Didn't love Carol. Yes, I'm aware that I'm a lesbian who had not seen Carol until like last month, but you know, I finally watched it. I didn't like it that much, which is weird because I love Cate Blanchett and I am gay. I thought it was boring and I didn't really like the conclusion of the story. Sarah Paulson, it was great to see her. That's really my main review of Carol. It was fine, but pretty forgetful ultimately. And another movie that I watched with gays that I didn't really like is Addicted to Fresno, which has Natasha Lyonne in it and was made by the same person who made But I'm a Cheerleader. She loves to cast Natasha Lyonne as a gay lady, as so many people do. But Addicted to Fresno wasn't good. It was really, really disappointing. Like, Aubrey Plaza dates Natasha Lyonne in this movie. That's a thing that happens. It's amazing. It's the only redeeming element is the super soft lady romance. The rest just felt like it was going out of its way to be super offensive and not, I don't know. It was really offensive. And also the antics were way too ridiculous. I was hoping for a good sister movie with some lesbian stuff, and really I just got a not great movie that was only elevated by its semi-decent lady romance. The night before the Oscars, I watched 3 Best Picture nominees because I refused to go into another Oscar having only seen one of them. I'd only seen Get Out, and I was like, I mean, I love Get Out, but I can't do another Oscars night where I haven't seen any of the movies. So I did a triple feature of, Lady Bird, Call Me By Your Name, and The Shape of Water. 2 of which I loved, and 1 of which I hated. So I loved Lady Bird, which I was expecting to like it, but as I watched it, I spent the first 45 minutes or so, like the first half going, I don't know why I care. I'm not invested. I don't like this girl. I don't like the story. It just wasn't speaking to me. And then I spent the last 20 minutes of the movie sobbing. Just sobbing. It hit me on this certain level of this daughter growing up and this mother-daughter relationship. It hit me, and I haven't recovered from it yet. I loved Lady Bird. I can't wait to see more what Greta Gerwig does because she made such a brilliant film that I don't think got the acclaim that it deserved. at the Oscars. I also really loved The Shape of Water. I love Guillermo del Toro. He has made some movies that are weird as hell, but I've loved them. I loved Hellboy when I was younger. It shaped a lot of what I like in what urban fantasy, I guess, but more in my desire for seeing media that represents monsters in a particular way. It's something that I've always been interested in, and it all started with Hellboy. So I love what Guillermo del Toro does. And I think The Shape of Water was an excellent movie. It was a movie about people on the outside, and I think it was done well in that regard, but it's also got like this heart to it and this weirdness. If there's anything Guillermo del Toro does well, it is atmosphere, and it was at its height in this movie. I love the atmosphere he creates. Pan's Labyrinth is not one of my favorite movies, but that movie is so atmospheric. I've never gotten over how atmospheric it is. Plus, I always love Doug Jones. There's yet another reason why I love The Shape of Water. I hated with my whole heart Call Me By Your Name. Like, at base level, I was uncomfortable with the romance. Just, if we're gonna start out right out, I was not comfortable with the romance. But even getting beyond that, I don't think it was a good film. I didn't think it was well acted. I didn't think that the script was very good. I know I'm probably stepping on some toes here, but legitimately, whenever people would have a conversation, unless it was the dad, whose name I can't remember, which is absurd because he's in every movie. He was the only one where when he would talk, I was like, oh man, this feels authentic. This feels well acted and I'm invested emotionally. Anyone else talked and I was like, did you read the script immediately before you walked out and did this scene? That movie ended. It was the last movie I watched of my triple feature and I was furious. I was so mad. So whenever Call Me By Your Name won, I got angry. What else did I want to talk about? The Big Sick. I wanted to talk about The Big Sick. That was an Oscar movie that I really, really liked. I wasn't expecting to love The Big Sick. I was expecting to like it. It was getting a lot of hype. A lot of people I trusted were telling me I was going to like it. And then I watched it and I haven't stopped thinking about it since. Like, this is a movie that is, at its heart, it's a romance and it is kind of not a dark comedy, but it's a comedy with some darker elements. And it is just one of the most heartfelt and honest movies I've ever seen. This is also up on my top 10 of best movies that I've discovered in the past few months. Lady Bird is also on that list, for sure. There are probably others. I didn't make an official top 10, but these are the ones that stand out to me. TARDIS check-in. We're really coming through. And, oh, it's slowly vanishing from this side. I didn't even show you to start off at the video, but it's reappearing. I haven't even talked about the bad movies. Like, I watched Pirates of the Caribbean 5, and I spent over 2 full hours ranting. My friend Brian told me while we were watching it, he had never seen me angrier than as angry as I was watching Pirates of the Caribbean 5. I was furious from beginning to end of that film, and not even Elizabeth Swann herself returning was enough to make me okay with how terrible that movie was. Why did we make more Pirates of the Caribbean? When are we gonna ban Johnny Depp from being in stuff? Because you know what else sucked? Murder on the Orient Express. It was not his fault that Murder on the Orient Express sucked, but he was in it, so I'm gonna blame him for it. Murder on the Orient Express sucked. Not even sucked, it was just like so deeply mediocre because all it did was focus on the cast instead of trying to make it an actual elevated, interesting murder mystery. And also, as a person who is related to multiple people with OCD, I'm so sick of the stereotype that detectives have to have OCD in order to be good detectives. You have so many books to work with, you have so much material to work with for the kind of person that Poirot was, and to reduce it to that same thing that everything always does with detectives, that they have to have OCD that makes them impossible to deal with to the rest of the world, I absolutely hate it. That was my ultimate biggest problem, is that I was watching it going, once again, this is what I see. When my family, when my dear friend have OCD and this is the thing they deal with and a thing that I know what it looks like, I'm so sick of seeing it represented this way. So, okay, there's my rant on a couple movies I really hated. A couple movies I really loved. Battle of the Sexes was funny, good, gay, real gay. Real gay. But also really, really loved Edge of 17. That was a movie that came out last year. That one is just like a teen coming of age movie with this really kind of unlikable main character. I kept comparing it to Lady Bird. Ultimately, of course, Lady Bird is a better movie, and also gets to a lot of like teenage angst issues that were handled incredibly well. I've saved the new movies that I've seen in the theater to last, but now I feel like I don't have enough time to talk about them. I've been seeing a lot of movies in the theater in 2018, and I've had almost a universally good experience. I've liked all of them. So like, I saw the new Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, is that what it's called? Back in January. I was expecting to not like it at all, but actually wound up really enjoying it all but the very, very end. But the rest of it was actually pretty good, and I think that Jack Black did a passable job of being a teenage girl while not ever making that the joke. And that was my biggest concern going in, so hats off. Bravo. Jumanji didn't make me really angry, which is a success. I saw Black Panther twice. I've talked about how much I love Black Panther in multiple other videos. I talked about it in a vlog. I have some pops behind me. It is one of the best Marvel movies that we have. It's just fantastic, and I can't wait to see more of those movies. Love all of the characters in Black Panther. It was an interesting story, and it had, honestly, I think their best villain. Like, Loki was a really good villain in the first Thor, but he's kind of occupied this different space of not being a Marvel villain anymore, necessarily. Killmonger is an exceptional Marvel villain. I also saw Annihilation, which I knew almost nothing about going in. Like, almost nothing. And then I went and saw it. It is one of the more disturbing movies that I've sat through. It was really weirdly uncomfortable to sit in that theater and see that movie with a group of other people, because we were all... You could feel the tension, you could feel that we were all uncomfortable, and we were all terrified and concerned, but it was incredibly inventive. I've been hyping it because there are women of color, and particularly a queer woman of color in this movie, and it has, like, all women at the center of a sci-fi film. I've since found out that this is an adaptation of a book, and the main character is also supposed to be a woman of color, and they cast Natalie Portman, so... That's a real bummer. Like, that's a real bummer. I still love the movie. I still think it is weird and different and good, but I'm annoyed that that happened. And I'm really excited. I really want to try to read the books that this movie is based off of, because I know it's different than the movie is, and the movie was just so weird and visual, stunning. Gina Rodriguez and Tessa Thompson are two of my favorite ladies right now, and they were both in this movie. So yeah, that's really my full review of Annihilation. It was really disappointing to find out that they had whitewashed that main role, because it was a good-ass movie. I saw A Wrinkle of Time, like, right after it came out, and this movie hasn't been getting good reviews, and that really frustrates me. I spent an hour, like, vamping myself up, getting angry, reading Letterboxd reviews of this movie, because every single one I don't think is a very valid criticism of the film. All of the complaints about this movie are that, like, it pushes its positive message too hard, or that it's just, like, it's too simplistic in its message of the lightness and the darkness and believing in yourself. What? Why is that a negative? I just spilled tea on myself, in case you're wondering how upset I am about the bad reviews for A Wrinkle in Time. It's a kid's movie. Why is it not allowed to be positive? Why is it not allowed to send a message of light, of believing in yourself, and of believing in your own power? What is so wrong with that, especially when you're aiming it at a main character who's biracial? What is so bad about a black woman telling a biracial girl that she is powerful, and that it is her faults that make her stronger, and that she has this immense ability to change the world around her? Why are we saying that that is not a good thing to be in a film? Oprah made me cry, like, 4 times. And maybe some of my love and some of my protectiveness of this film is that it is just an almost perfect adaptation of the book, and so much of my self-worth as a young girl was based on reading A Wrinkle in Time. So much of my belief in myself and my own power and my intelligence comes from Meg and how she impacted me when I was her age. So I'm protective of this story because it meant so much to me, but I think that this movie is a way to make that relevant again to young girls, and to tell girls again in this new way that you are powerful and you are worthy. So I loved it. I think I have to wrap it up here because I have way too many other movies I want to talk about, but I'm just going to keep going on indefinitely. So, if you are interested in me doing more frequent wrap-ups of the movies that I am watching, let me know down in the comments below. I watch a lot of movies, people, and I like talking about them, and I don't always get enough of a chance to just blab on about movies. Oh, final check-in. Okay, we're a little drippy, but the TARDIS has finally made its way around to the front of the cup. That is how long this video took. It took enough time for the TARDIS to reappear. So that's kind of fun. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!